مشاهدينا لقاء جديد بطل فيه عبر شاشة مريم تي في عليكم ببرنامج جديد من سفرة مع سفير. بيسعدني بهالمناسبة استضيف سعادة سفير مكسيكو السيد جوسيه مادراسو. Hola.
Hola.
Su Excelencia, embajador de México en Líbano, José Madrazo, Señor José Madrazo, you're most welcome in Mariam TV Plateau.
Thank you. Thank you. I am very pleased to be here.
Thank you. Today we're gonna make this virtual trip to Mexico.
Perfect.
We will have to know about the country more. Mexico, one of the largest cities of Americas, and the capital, Mexico City, over 130 million for the estimated population, 130 million people.
For the whole country.
Exactly. You will take us. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you
So
for
what
inviting
can you
me.
tell us about the borders of Mexico before seeing the flag of Mexico and getting to know about the official spoken language in the country? If you're going to talk about the countries bordering Mexico, what can you tell us on the geographical map that we will see now on the screen?
Yes. Well, as you know, Mexico has the northern border with the United States of America, 3,000 kilometer border with the United States.
Okay.
In the south, we have the border with both Guatemala and Belize.
Sí.
And we have the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. So Mexico is in a very particular geographical situation, bordering the U.S. and Guatemala on the south.
And we have the Caribbean Sea, as we see on the geographical map.
Yes.
It's bordering
Yes.
Mexico too. It's the fifth largest country. The nation is the fifth largest country in Americas.
Yes, yes, I think that's a very important point, because sometimes people in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia don't realize the size of Mexico. Mexico is a very big country. If you put, just to imagine the size, for example, Ireland, where the northern border is with the U.S., the city of Tijuana. The southern border, Cancun, for example, would be over Istanbul. That's the
Great.
size.
This is amazing.
It's
size.
very big
Fantastic.
country, and that speaks of different climates, different geographies, different cultures, because it's a very big and diverse country.
Its rich culture made it the first among the first nations and countries in UNESCO.
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
Now we're gonna see His Excellency the flag of Mexico and the
Yes.
symbol, because we can see the eagle and the snake and the cactus plants.
Yes, that symbol which is also our national seal is remembering the foundation of what was to become the Aztec Empire.
Yes.
The Aztecs were a people that were living in what is today the United States and even further north. And they were a nomadic people that were going to the south.
Now we see the two colors too.
Yes, and the history, the tradition says that the Aztec people were told that when they see a lake, a big lake, and in the center of the lake an eagle eating a serpent, a snake.
That's why, excuse me for interruption, that's why we see the blue color. This is the lake, you mean?
The lake,
Okay.
and then it's the cactus, and the eagle is eating the snake over the cactus.
Okay.
And so the traditions of the Aztecs said that when they see this happening, they should stop their migration to the south and build a city there.
What does the eagle represent, and what does on a part, and on the other part, what does the snake represent?
Well,
Is it the enemy?
no, not necessarily. It was both the snake and the eagle together, the place where they should build their empire and settle.
Okay.
That was because they were walking through many years from the north to the south, and they were told, when you see that happening, you should stop and settle there.
All right. And if you're going to talk about the colors of the flag, we have the green color, white in the middle, and red. What does these colors represent?
Well, they are colors representing the end of the independence war.
Okay.
They talk.
1821 it ends.
It
Mexican
ended in
War of
1821,
Independence.
and the white, of course, means peace, and the green and the red were the colors of the groups that won the independence war.
And the Independence Day officially celebrated, is it in 1810?
Yes, because in 1810, on the 15th of September, it's officially the date that the war for independence started.
If we're going to have a step back into history, what was, we know that it was an empire, the colony, it was the Spanish colony.
Yes, of course, you know that the
over
Spaniards
Mexico.
discovered America in 1492.
1492.
They first got to America in 1492.
Okay.
They started settling in different islands in Cuba, in other islands in the Caribbean, and then they got to Mexico, and difficult encounter happened between the Spaniards and the different indigenous civilizations that were there. They met with many of them on their route to Mexico, to what is today Mexico City, and then there was a war, and the Spaniards won, and so in 1522 it's considered the date when the Spanish colonization of Mexico starts.
Okay.
They created a new political entity called the New Spain.
Okay.
And it lasted for many years. No?
And now we know that Mexico is the fifth largest country in the Americas, and the official spoken language, as we said, it's Spanish.
Yes, I guess it's the fourth, not the fifth, because it would be United States, Canada, Brazil, and Mexico.
Okay.
And we speak Spanish as the main official language, but many other languages are spoken.
What are the other languages, please?
Well, they have their indigenous names. Maya would be one of them.
For the native, you mean, His Excellency? The native spoken people?
In different parts of Mexico, the indigenous peoples there speak different languages.
Okay.
Maya would be one. The language that the Aztecs spoke is called Nahua.
All right.
But you don't find this in Mexico City, for example, or in the main cities. You don't find indigenous peoples. You find indigenous languages. You find you speak Spanish.
No está como el español, idiomas. Estas idiomas.
Yes, they are very different, and they are original to the different peoples. No.
Okay. And if we're going to talk about the history, la historia del país, what can you tell us? The most remarkable historical steps.
Well, it's a very rich history, because the civilizations that were in Mexico before the Spaniards came were very, very rich and important in terms of their culture, of their traditions, of their architecture. I am sure you have seen the photos of pyramids, both around Mexico City, around Oaxaca, and in the whole Yucatan Peninsula. So the civilizations there were very advanced, and they have a very rich culture. And then came the Spaniards with their culture, with their traditions, with their history, and this was a mixture of both. No? So we have in Mexico very important pre-Hispanic architecture, very important pre-Hispanic traditions, culture, languages, gastronomy, and then we have the traditions and the architecture of the Spanish period.
That's why it occupies the seventh in UNESCO World
Exactly.
Heritage
Yes.
of Nations.
Yes.
This is very important for Mexico.
It is, and very interesting for visitors to go to Mexico and look at that.
31 million visitors?
Yes, last year.
Oh my God.
We were the sixth.
Skyrocketing figure.
Yes, the sixth largest number of visitors in the world were to Mexico.
This is amazing.
Yes.
And what's about NAFTA partners? It is in the
Well,
partnership of NAFTA too.
NAFTA was
And strongly.
a treaty that was signed between Mexico, Canada, and the United States.
Okay.
We have been recently through a process of modernizing NAFTA, and now we have a new agreement that deals also with new challenges in the world. For example, in 1993, when NAFTA was signed, there was no anything. There was no e-commerce, nothing. Now this has been incorporated in the new NAFTA. There are so different and new challenges that are there in the new agreement that was agreed to between the three countries just a few weeks ago.
Okay, and we say, and it's written that Mexico is the first American Latino country in the OECD.
Yes.
Though we know that after or post-independence period, it was full of political and economic turmoil. How come this balance is here or is settled?
Well, the independence ended in 1821, and after that it was a civil war.
Okay.
And after that, the political system changed, and there were a fight between the people who wanted to stay very much as things were, with a very important church in the political arena, with the system that the Spaniards have brought. And then there were a group of people called the liberals who wanted change and wanted more progress, and looked very much
Who won after all?
The liberals.
The liberals. And how was all this period of time?
It was very, very complicated. It was still a kind of civil war.
Okay.
But we had a president called Benito Juarez, who is very well known because he introduced a series of laws, of new laws, of reforms that changed the country very much and made it organized in a federal republic with different states and governors of the states. And
there are 31 states?
32 with Mexico City.
32 with Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and every state, does it have its own political structure?
No, it's the same.
Okay.
Inside they have a local parliament, and then there is a national parliament.
The national parliament was the liberal or the new constitution?
This was many years ago that started this. No? So we have had a parliament and a federal system for many since the 19th century.
So we can say that Mexico is a federal republic.
Yes, it is.
Okay, His Excellency, if you're going to talk in global recession and poverty in Mexico in general, what can you tell us?
Well, unfortunately, and this is, I think, our main challenge, Mexico is still a country where there are many poor people. The income is badly distributed. There are areas that are very developed. In the northern part of Mexico, you feel that you are in a developed country, a very industrialized country.
Okay.
If you go to certain parts in the southern part of Mexico, it's still very poor. A lot of infrastructure is needed, of new roads and everything. I think this has to do with many reasons, like education, corruption. We need still a very solid and established system of the rule of law. In certain parts of Mexico, you have a very advanced judicial system. with the rule of law very much established. In others, there is corruption. So it's a very unequal country, and what the government has been trying is to make it more equal.
So the government is exerting all efforts to make Mexico equal.
Yes, for example, we had
all the social
a number of structural reforms in the recent years. For example, Mexico is a very important country in terms of energy. Okay. We are an oil power.
All right.
But our energy system was very close until recently. That means that the private sector or the foreign companies couldn't invest in Mexico's oil or gas or electricity sector. Now there was a reform that went through the parliament, and now everything is allowed. Foreigners can invest, private companies can invest, and this is changing the energy sector in Mexico.
From how many years, dating back to how many years
3 years.
This change? 3 years only.
3 years.
So
4
before these 3 years,
we
the inequality, and you were totally closed.
In energy.
In energy, talking in energy.
For example, telecommunications was almost a monopoly until very recently. Now there is a lot of competition. The prices have gone down, and more people has access to cell phones and all that. No?
So His Excellency, Mexico is one of the cradles of human agriculture, and we know the production of maize, crops, and so on is skyrocketing. Can you tell us more?
Yes, well, we are a very important agricultural country. We have many parts of Mexico are very fertile, and so we are one of the main producers of many agricultural products. For example, we are the main producer of tomato, of avocado, of lemons. We are important producer of coffee, of
the cacao,
honey, chocolate, of course,
yes.
cacao.
Must be delicious.
Yeah, we are exporting all these products to many countries in the world. For example, to the Middle East, we are exporting chickpeas and coffee to Lebanon.
Okay.
But we are also exporting many food products to the Gulf countries. We have now embassies in all the area, and so the embassies promote trade to all these countries. So we are an agricultural export power.
His Excellency, we're going to see a short video about the beauty of the country, the beauty of Mexico.
Yes.
So, His Excellency, this is kind of a mixture of everything. The sombrero, the festivals, and everything is very beautiful in this video. What can you tell us?
Well, I think that the most important message of this video is that Mexico is a very diverse country, diverse in nature, diverse in culture, in traditions, in gastronomy. I think that you can see here that we have everything in Mexico.
Okay.
We have very beautiful beaches, we have very beautiful mountains and forests. We have very important historical traditions with different festivals, very colorful ones.
Archaeological sites.
Very important archaeological sites all around the country. We have a very rich Spanish inheritance with the churches, with the important Spanish palaces. We have the opportunity as visitors to do all kinds of sports. You saw the boats, the sailing, and the beach sports, and so it's a very rich country.
His Excellency, we're gonna check todas las riquezas de este país after the break.
Perfect.
مشاهدينا بريك صغير وبنرجع لكم. His Excellency Ambassador de Mexico and Lebanon, Senor Jose, you're most welcome here with us in Miriam TV Plateau again. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
So we were talking about this diversity and this rich diversity heritage of Mexico. What can you tell us more?
Well, I think that's why so many millions of people want to visit Mexico, because people look for different things in their vacation travel plans, and in Mexico they can find everything. Maybe we start with the most well-known, with the most famous, like perhaps the Riviera Maya, where Cancun, Tulum is. You have their very rich archaeological inheritance. The Maya civilization was there in what is called the Yucatan Peninsula. Cancun has a very good airport, so you can fly from anywhere in Europe or many places in Asia directly to Cancun and then visit the area. Tulum is like 1.5 hours from Cancun to the south.
So these are the best cities or touristic destinations
in the Caribbean coast.
Sí.
In the Caribbean coast.
Sí.
Then we have the whole of the Pacific coast, where you have very well-known places also, like Acapulco, like Puerto Vallarta.
We're going to see the photos on the screen
Yes.
of these beautiful touristic sites.
You have also in the Pacific what is called the Baja California Peninsula, the southern part of what is California. In Mexico it's called Baja California,
And
like
here
this one here.
This is Baja California.
This is Baja California, which is a little bit
This is a rocky area.
similar to the Pigeon Rocks here in Beirut.
Okay.
It's a very dry climate in Baja California because it's a desert. And so you have the sea, the beaches, and the desert. It's very nice, no?
All at the same time in the area.
All at the same time. This is also an example of the cactus and that are in that area. As I say, a very dry and desertic area.
The cactus is a symbol, a main symbol in Mexico.
It's important, yes.
It's
And then
very
we have what I was telling you about the Spanish inheritance with all the colonial architecture like this, which is
It dates back to which century?
to the where the Spaniards arrived in the 16th century, and so they stayed for 400 years, so it goes for many years, no? But you have this architecture in many places in Mexico, with also very rich cultural traditions like dances, folkloric dances, and different festivals.
And the attire is very nice. It's very
attires
Mexican
are
attire.
very, in different regions you have different attires, no?
And they have these special colors, these vivid and strong
very
colors.
vivid colors, yes.
Exactly.
These are the
old
cities.
pedestrian street.
In all towns from the colonial era, you have that. Around Mexico City, you have many of those very beautiful towns.
This is amazing.
And then also in the city of Oaxaca, it's an old colonial town, very well preserved.
Oaxaca.
In the south.
And this?
Then you have what I was telling you about the sea. This is in the Pacific. This is Acapulco.
Acapulco is very well known.
Acapulco is very well known. It's a very beautiful bay.
It's a bay and known for its water, for
Yes.
it's very clean water.
Zihuatanejo, which is close to Acapulco, it has a more modern part called Ixtapa. Ixtapa and Zihuatanejo are the same, are together, and they are like this, very close to Mexico City by plane, and a very good road. You can travel by in 4.5 or 5 hours. You can drive there, or you can fly in less than 1 hour. You are there. No, Mexico has, by the way, 44 airports that receive foreign flights.
This is amazing.
So you can fly from many cities in the U.S. or Canada directly to the beach resorts.
And this beach resort is located almost where?
This one in particular, Acapulco, is in the Pacific coast.
In the Pacifico Sea.
Yes.
The Pacifico Sea.
Ocean.
Ocean, sorry.
Yes. And they have these sculptures underneath
Scuba
the
diving
water.
activity.
So you can dive also as
Wow, this is a very nice photo. I love it.
You can dive in different parts of the Caribbean. Is very famous for diving, and also in Baja California. You have all kinds of food and seafood in the coast. Is very rich and delicious now.
And this one, the cactus, as I see.
This is a museum in Mexico City in honor of Frida Kahlo. You remember
Frida y Diego.
Frida y Diego. There were two very important personalities in the last century who painted, both of them.
Okay.
And Frida is very well known, as you know. No?
Okay.
And this is her house in Mexico City, which is now a museum.
This is a pottery.
Yes, pottery is also very rich tradition. These are examples of colonial churches. When I say colonial, it's from the time that the Spaniards were there.
Exactly, the Spanish colony.
Yes, this is also a very important
peak.
Yes, and it's close to a city called Puebla. It's almost the same city. Puebla is a city where many Lebanese settled. So you will find in Puebla many families of Lebanese origin. You will find Lebanese food.
So we have the Lebanese community over there.
All around in Mexico, but in Puebla there are many.
Okay.
Yes. This is close to another coastal city in the Gulf of Mexico called Veracruz.
Veracruz.
This is the port where the Lebanese came to Mexico, and this is an archaeological site close to Veracruz.
Okay.
This is also an example of the Maya tradition, the Maya civilization. This is in the center of the jungle. You can visit.
How can we reach it?
By car, driving from Cancun.
And is it for meditation or just for touristic visit?
Mainly for touristic visits.
And it's in the middle of the jungle.
Yes. But they have nice
risky?
hotels there.
Ah.
No, not at all. No.
Because
It's very well organized.
When we hear about the jungle, we are afraid.
No. It's very well organized. This is the
typical
one of the
Mexican attire.
Dance. They go up. These people go up in a very high, and then they jump with and make dances from there. They jump with a leash.
Okay.
And
this is a traditional.
Yes, in the center of Mexico.
All right. Guadalupe.
This is the Virgin of Guadalupe.
What can you tell us about the Virgin of Guadalupe?
Well, the Virgin of Guadalupe appeared in Mexico to an indigenous young man, and she has become the main religious figure in Mexico. Mexicans are very devoted. They love the Virgin of Guadalupe, and the Virgin has a very important shrine in Mexico City, our Harissa, so to say.
We heard that it came last year to Harissa.
No, last month.
Last month, okay.
We have now an image of the Virgin of Guadalupe in Harissa, and another one in the sanctuary of the monastery of Balamanta.
Wow, this is amazing. And this portrait is with all these colors.
This portrait was done after the apparition of the Virgin, and now it's in different places all around the world, including Lebanon and of course Mexico.
When does this apparition happen?
I don't remember exactly. I have to go back to you on that.
All
But almost close to the starting of the the Spanish colonization.
This is very important.
I
And
have
now
to
what do we see?
These are boats decorated with flowers that you can take to visit a very nice area close to Mexico City, where you can go in the boats in the rivers, and this was very important in our agricultural history, because when the original people, the Aztecs, found this snake with the eagle,
Yes.
they built a city over a lake.
Wow.
And so they had to do something with all that water, and so they started to construct.
And there are inhabitants in the city?
Not anymore. It's Mexico City now.
Okay.
The lake has disappeared, but originally almost disappeared, because these are parts of the lake where you can find those boats with the flowers.
Before we go to Mexico City, what can you tell us about El Día de los Muertos?
Well, it's like many, the most important cultural traditions in Mexico is an inheritance of our pre-Hispanic history,
Okay.
and our Spanish influence.
Mhm.
So El Día de los Muertos is a very old tradition to remember the death.
It is celebrated by the 1st of November of each year?
Yes, and what is important is that this is a day that the death are remembered in a very loving way, I would say. It's not so much a celebration of the dead, but a celebration of the people who are died.
How do you celebrate it, His Excellency?
We put in the houses and in the cemeteries what we call the altar de muertos. It's an altar to the dead.
Okay.
So we put there usually a picture of the people who we are remembering, a grandfather, an aunt, and then we put things that make us remember in a good way that person.
Valuable things.
For
a
example,
ring or a watch.
No, maybe the things that he liked, maybe things in particular, but also food, drinks. If she liked,
You serve hot chocolate on this day. Why?
yes. Well, because it's in November, it's cold, and in Mexico, liquid chocolate, hot, is very popular. So
So it has nothing to do with this day. It's only because it's cold.
Well, it has a lot to do because we drink usually chocolate on that day, but that's the importance of it. And we put a lot of flowers. We put things that makes us remember our death.
Any prayer, any lyric, any song?
No, not in particular for the day of the normal songs that we have, and we put incense also, frankincense. You know that.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, and
it happens in every house in Mexico.
Well,
or almost.
Things have changed with modernization. You know,
Okay.
in many houses they still do it. In others they skip it because, well, it takes an effort. It is so. I wouldn't say in every house, but in
Yes.
many houses.
Mexico City, the capital of Mexico, is very beautiful, is very rich, very dynamic people in it, and all
Yes.
this structure of modernization, and at the same time or in parallel keeping some history in it. What can you tell us?
Yes, well, Mexico City was originally the city that I talked about, where the snake and the eagle was. So it has a very, very ancient history, and it's very modern at the same time. So you can see parts of the city where you have still the pre-Hispanic archaeology. And you have the colonial period with very nice palaces. The whole, what we call historic center of the city, are colonial churches and palaces from the Spaniards' time. And then you have very modern, very, very modern parts
Area.
of the city with high rises and all the
So it's a mixture of modern
yes. We
and
have
old.
I think it's the capital city in the world with more museums. And you can do anything in Mexico City. You can find all kinds of food, for example, Japanese food, Chinese food, Italian, and of
A
course
rich gastronomy.
Mexican food with many markets. We have traditional markets and very modern stores also, but the food is a very important part of Mexican culture also.
If you're gonna fly from Beirut to Mexico City, flight time.
Well, I think it's very important to mention that we are negotiating with the Lebanese government and what we call an aviation services agreement.
For
And
direct flights?
Maybe not direct flights, but to make it easier to fly with code sharing, for example. The easiest way to go from Beirut to Mexico is to fly from Beirut to any of the main European cities.
Okay.
Madrid, Barcelona, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Frankfurt, München, all have direct flights to Mexico.
So this is the first stop from Beirut to these cities that
To
you have
any of
already
those
mentioned.
cities,
Okay.
and then you take a direct flight to Mexico. But
Okay.
any of the cities I mentioned have direct flights. For example, Madrid or Paris have 4 daily flights to Mexico.
Wow.
So you can choose either, for example, in France, you can choose either Air France or Aeromexico.
Okay.
Both have 2 flights each. And so you can fly different times each day to Mexico. From Paris to Mexico, it's about 10 hours.
This is very long time in the airplane.
It is.
It's not,
it is.
it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's
We
far.
are in distance. We are far away, but you get on the plane and then you get out of the plane. It's from here to Paris are 5 hours. From Paris to Mexico, 10 hours. So it's not too bad.
And as regards the visa, is it easy for the Lebanese to get the visa to Mexico?
Well, if you are Lebanese and don't have any other visa, you need a Mexican visa.
Okay.
And this visa, you need mainly a bank account
Okay.
to prove that you have the resources to go and stay to Mexico and
This
come
is for
back.
tourism,
Yes.
not for other purpose.
No, for other purpose, you have to show proof of what you are doing, traveling, working, or whatever. But one very important thing, if you have a Schengen visa, I mean an European visa, if you have a Canadian visa, or if you have a USA visa, you don't need anything.
Okay.
You just go to Mexico with that. Many Lebanese, I have seen that many have the visa to go to France, to go to Germany, to go to Switzerland, to go. If you have that, you can go to Mexico without the visa.
This is important.
If you have a Canadian visa, if you have a US visa, which many Lebanese have, you go
It's an open gate to Mexico.
without a problem to Mexico.
His Excellency, what can you tell us about, in few words, about the Lebanese community in Mexico?
Well, the Lebanese community in Mexico, and I don't say this because I am here, but it's the truth, it's a very, very important community. It's a very important because there are many Lebanese community in Mexico. There are around 700,000.
Wow.
It is important because they are very well organized. They are very good citizens. They are not Lebanese in prisons or whatever. And very important, they are very entrepreneurial. They do all kinds of projects. You have, of course, very rich and famous people in the community, but almost all of them or all have
Started their own business.
businesses, are very important professionals. We have important Lebanese doctors, important Lebanese lawyers.
Wow.
There is even an association of Lebanese lawyers in Mexico.
This is amazing.
And they are all around the country, in the north, in the south, in Mexico City, in Puebla. It's a very well-respected community.
Estupendo. Entonces es estupendo.
That's why Lebanon has a very good image in Mexico, which is very important because news sometimes doesn't help to have good images of country. Mexico has a very
A high cachet.
complex economy image in the world because there are news about different problems that Mexico has. But the reality is that Mexico is very large. It's very diverse. It's very rich culturally and economically, so it's a very good place to visit.
Su Excelencia, en su capacidad de embajador de México en Líbano, ¿qué es el mensaje that you would like to convey to the Lebanese here in Lebanon and to the Mexican in Mexico?
Well, I think that we love each other a lot as peoples. Mexico love the Lebanese love what they know about Mexico. But I think that the important thing now is to make something with that, something practical, to visit us more in our countries, to try to invest, to try to make better trade between the countries. And I think that's possible even if we are far away. I think that
to enhance the relationship and the bridges,
yes,
between
and
the
that's
two
why
people.
that's why I was talking about aviation, because we have to make easier for Lebanese to go to Mexico and trade and invest.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks indeed. Muchas gracias,
Gracias.
para su presencia con nosotros en Mariam TV Plateau.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
مشاهدينا بريك صغير وبنرجع لكم. مشاهدينا رجعنا لكم من البريك من برنامج سفرة مع سفير. بيسعدني بهالمناسبة استضيف السيدة مارغريتا مادراسو، هي زوجة السفير سعادة سفير مكسيكو في لبنان. Hello.
Hello.
¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, gracias.
Muy bien. Gracias para su presencia con nosotros aquí en Mariam TV Plateau.
Gracias, es un placer estar con ustedes.
You're most welcome. Mrs. Margarita Madraso, you are the president of the DSAL, the Diplomatic Spouses Association in Lebanon, and very active woman in the Embassy of Mexico.
Yes.
How come? Can you join these two activities and exert all this effort?
Yes, well, when you move to a new country, you always, as the spouse, try to find your way to make it something interesting, something worthwhile, something enriching, and get your way as a diplomat spouse through these changes. So it's a challenge always, and to do it. And here in Lebanon, I have found a very interesting group and active group with the Spouses Association, and that's why
That's why you are here,
yes.
there for your mission, always ready. Can you tell us more about the Diplomatic Spouses Association in Lebanon before moving to women in Mexico?
Okay. The Diplomatic Spouses Association has had several years already in Lebanon and is very active. It has the objective of getting women together. Not only women spouses, which are mostly women, but we also have male spouses of diplomatic.
But the majority are women.
The majority are women.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And your mission, your target is to help.
Our target is to through the unity of these women, do events in which we can do fundraising and help.
This is amazing.
Help some. Local Lebanese organizations, and I think that it is.
And so far, so good. We have seen a lot,
yes.
And the fundraising was for marginalized people, children, and in need.
Yes, yes, that
society.
Has been. Yes, there has been several organizations who have already been benefited from last year's activities. There are activities, 2 large activities done during the year. That's the International Charity Bazaar in December, and then there is a lunch celebrated on Women's Day. And also
Kempinski Hotel, I guess.
That was done last year. We
Yes.
don't have the venue for this year, so we will.
This
we
is
will see
amazing.
where,
All
yeah.
the best and success for this
Thank you very much.
organization,
Thank you.
association.
Thank you very much.
If you're gonna talk about women, la mujer in Mexico,
Yes.
¿qué podemos decir?
Yes. La mujer in Mexico. Mexico is a very large and very complex country, so I think that we cannot say simple solutions or simple facts about it. The society is complex, and the history of it is complicated. Nevertheless, we can say that throughout the years, we have come to a point where we have achieved a lot of benefits for women.
50% in parliament?
50% in parliament for this year. The last legislative
Estupendo.
results were
50%.
50%. It was the first time that this was achieved, and it has been already acknowledged by United Nations as a great achievement in gender equality in Mexico.
How many efforts have been exerted or deployed in this area, and for how long women are striving to reach this percentage in the parliament?
This has
Can
been,
you tell us?
I think it's as long as women have been fighting in politics, you know, since getting the women vote, and still always trying to be active in politics. So I think it has been an ongoing, and it has been little by little, and we did it last year, no? This last election.
And feminism in Mexico, what can you tell us about feminist activity or activities?
Feminism in Mexico is, there are different kinds to be a feminist. And I don't think only in Mexico, I think as a woman all over the world, there are different. You can be political, you can be a feminist in your own social group, or you can belong to organizations in your family. You can belong to feminist organizations which do for other people. So you can find all this in Mexico. And at the end, you can see that also through a big effort throughout history, we can find a lot of achievements in different
Throughout history and different steps.
But we are now in a level in which women have achieved very high status in every aspect of human life and in human rights for women. We have politicians, we have business women, very, very successful women, we have scientists, we have artists, we have a woman who directs orchestras around the world. And so
women are leading the country in a way or another.
Not yet. Not yet, because I think there's a lot to be still done.
But indirectly in their posts and positions.
In their posts and positions, women are doing a lot, and are very concerned and understand that there's still a lot to do.
If you're going to talk about women, La Mujer de Mexico, before and after, what can you tell us?
Before and after, that's also before. We can
women
see
of old
that
times and women in recent times.
Yes, we can talk more about like what modern women are doing, and by modern women we understand women who live way more in a modern style than in a traditional style. In this kind of women, you see very, very active, especially young ladies who are really, really active, who have achieved a lot of independence, who really are doing what they want to do as a person.
Nice.
And I think that is a big achievement.
And especially women in education.
Women in education, they are getting high degrees in education. That is for modern women. That not necessarily applies to more traditional communities within Mexico. As I was telling you,
Can
it's
you
a
describe
very
us
complex.
this traditional community in Mexico?
Well, we couldn't say. I think family is a very important institution in Mexico, modern and traditional family. And women in family are the basic.
The main pillar.
The main pillar, as you say, for the family and for the societies.
If you're going to talk about family structure, the traditional family structure composed of how many members?
Well, traditionally, it's the family has been very united.
Family size.
It has changed because many families are now having less children, but it used to be the mother, the father with many, many children, and usually taking care of the grandparents. So all together as a whole.
So we can say that the size of the family, traditionally speaking, and now in the current time, it has changed.
It has changed.
Everywhere in the world, almost.
Yes, it has changed. Now families are smaller, but still, I think that the role of women has been kept as primary caregiver of the family, which makes her very dependent still on the husband.
It's well known and it's said, and we always hear the saying that women, Mexican women, are big fighters.
Mm-hmm.
What makes them big fighters?
I think generally, first of all, as a mother, I think Mexican women, I don't know if in general, we would fight for anything. Yeah, being a mother. But if we go to history, we have also a very nice participation of women during the beginning of last century. We had a revolutionary war, and during that war, men would go to fight. But there was the group of women that were called soldaderas. That's from soldiers, but not soldier women. It's a different thing. It's the soldaderas, and they would follow the fighters, the men, and they would take care of them.
They were supporting and sustaining.
They were supporting, sustaining, taking care of them in every aspect. And there are many, in the pictures from that time or regarding this time. I think it's a very interesting part that women in Mexico and women fighters, as fighters, did during this time.
Mrs. Margarita, we know that women are big fighters, usually, everywhere. And this fight makes us always raise the flag of victory and success. What's about victory nowadays of these women in Mexico?
Victory. I think if we go towards feeling more independent and being able to fight for what you want with your own life is one of the big achievements.
Yes.
That women in Mexico have got through this fight for being themselves. And sometimes it's against traditions, sometimes it's against society or against family, but in trying to be themselves. I think that is a big fight that they are doing today, young women, and they are being successful.
Balancing home and career for women.
That's
La
an
mujer
issue.
de México.
That's an issue.
¿Cómo se pasa?
I think it's a challenge. It's a very, very, very big challenge because in this...
Are they full-time workers or not? Especially when they are enrolled in the public sector.
They are full-time workers.
How can they balance?
There is no help from the husbands or the male. So it is always help either from
Parents?
Parents, from family, or through caregivers. There are a lot of institutions who take care of
the
children.
husband is always busy, you mean?
The husband also works.
Okay.
There is not the idea yet that the husband can help and can do a big help in the house. And I think this is something that should be looked forward in order to achieve gender equality in the long run. Not only in Mexico, but
in the whole world.
Yep.
This is perfectly true. If you're going to talk about women's rights today in Mexico, what can you tell us?
Women's rights are, in paper, established as legally as the UN suggests. So we follow. There's a very legal constitutional frame which embodies all
established
human rights.
since.
Sorry?
Established since. Almost.
I suppose that I do not. It's always an ongoing process, but I think that there has not been an issue of not accepting as far as.
So it's always a draft of the draft. You mean?
What do you mean a draft?
A draft of the draft project, convention.
Yeah, it's been accepted as as it comes throughout the United Nations, and
this is amazing.
Yeah, so we have accepted constitutionally women have absolutely the same rights as men do. You
You can
can own
vote.
property,
Mhm.
you can vote, you
You
can
can
work,
give the nationality.
you
to your
can give
children.
nationality to your children, you can inherit, you have the same rights as men. So the constitutional
So
framework
citizenship,
is
inheritance,
everything.
and so on, and buying and selling,
Yes.
it all comes back to women
Men and women as equal.
as equal, exactly.
As equal.
So
yeah.
women, we understand from you in Mexico, stand equal to men.
Yes. In
And
the
what's
frame,
about-
as a constitution, yes.
And what's about gender equality?
Legally, it is established and it's looked forward.
Okay.
It is not enforced.
Not yet enforced.
It's not punished if it's not.
Mhm.
So, for example, you ask, you have the framework that women should get the same pay as men. So, but then, if a company or even if within the government they don't do it, there are no penalties for it.
Mhm.
You know, so it's more like when companies really get there, and they say we are here, we are doing this, and but if not,
They have
there are no
to
penalties.
prove themselves, at least, to say the least.
Yes, yes, and this is, you know, where the things, the places where we are working. When
It's
And-
like everywhere, Mrs. Margarita. Women are working, striving, and for sure there will be a solution.
yeah, it's good that we have the framework, the legal framework to do it. You know,
Mhm.
at least that's a big help. But still, there are many hidden, you know, structures within the society, within the even the personalities, and so which are there, and we have to keep fighting for them.
Women in education, we hear and we know that women are teaching a lot in schools and universities. What's
Mhm.
about that?
I think primary education is mostly done by women.
Okay.
All the primary schools, I would say that it's women who have the touch with young children,
Exactly.
and that's understood as a tradition, and so on.
They are soft by nature.
Oh, I don't really know as teachers. They can be very tough as teachers, but it's like a role assigned that.
Pero tienen el corazón.
Oh yes, yeah, the heart is there, and sometimes being tough is important.
And
you know,
especially
and
being a
discipline
mother,
and-
it's very easy to lead.
Yeah. So women in primary education, I think they are the vast majority, and in secondary and universities, you know, the numbers also diminish in proportion. But I mean, by not saying 100%, but I think that yeah, women in education are very, very active.
Are they mayors, women?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are mayor women, and they are parliamentary women. They are people in the judiciary system. They are
Mhm.
judges. Not in an equality amount, but yes, there are.
Mrs. Margarita, in your capacity as president of DSAL, Diplomatic Spouses Association in Lebanon, how would you like to lead? How would you like to understand women's needs? And how would you like to make this fundraising for helping others?
This year, DSAL has decided, the committee has decided to take a green approach to our activities. We are focusing our meetings and our trips, our cultural exchange into a green Lebanon.
Nice.
So that is what we are doing for this year, and for that we have been inviting local NGOs to participate with us in the International Charity Bazaar. And as a group, we have been inviting people to talk to us about the problems that Lebanon is facing in terms of environment. And we think that, as always as a group, we would like to also leave something behind that we did this year towards a greener Lebanon. That's like our flag as DSAL.
A greener,
Yes.
clean space.
Hmm?
A greener, clean space.
That's it. A greener,
is very
clean
important.
space. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we have challenges all over the world in environmental issues, and Mexico has been very active internationally in the environmental problems. Actually, the head of the Commission of United Nations for Environmental and Climate Change is a woman, a Mexican woman. And so...
You mean in Lebanon?
No, in United Nations, Mexico.
In Mexico.
Yeah,
United
going back
Nations
to
of
the
Mexico, yes.
going back to the women
Yes.
issue. This the head in United Nations
Wow, this is
for
amazing.
yes for environmental and climate change is a Mexican diplomat.
So going back to Mexico, so
Mhm.
women are playing a major role in the United Nations too.
Oh yes,
Organizations, mainly
Yes,
in
yes.
Mexico and all over the world.
yes, in international
What's the secret?
organizations. We have to keep pushing and
We
keep
have to keep
trying,
pushing.
and yeah, and be committed to yourself and to your what you think it's what you should be doing, and not let other people undermine you because you are women,
Exactly.
and empowering between ourselves as women and helping others and supporting ourselves. I think that is
This is very important.
Yes.
Women empowerment in Mexico.
Mhm.
How many programs, how many organizations, NGOs, and associations
many.
are working on this?
There are many.
Approximately.
You can say that if a company is run by women, they have a foundation that is helping women. You can, as a general, say that.
Yes.
NGOs, you cannot say a number in a big country.
This is a big number.
There are organizations within the universities. There are, especially the young girls. They
So
are really concerned, really active, and really fighting.
It starts with youth.
I think it starts with
This mentality
education.
is there.
The mentality is now there within the young girls, and they are really working hard.
Yes.
Even in their daily life, in their everyday, how they dress, how they work, how their timings, everything is for themselves and trying to get women on board.
If we're going to talk by the end of our interview about women, Mexican women character and personality, we understand she is a leader, we understand she is strong. What else qualities are there?
I think she's very proud of being women,
Self-confident?
self-confident, very strong as family pillars, as mothers, and grandmothers are an institution. I think women are persistent. They are very intelligent, and they are solidary between themselves.
How do they deal or how do they interact with the masculine society, with men?
And again, it's a complex question, and it also involves personality,
Yes.
of each one. I think that regarding this fight for women equality, there is
Some confrontation?
There is some confrontation in the sense that maybe depends on what they are, encountering. If they encounter support, if they encounter solidarity from them, then they take advantage of this support and this solidarity to move on. If they find, resistance or just simply neglect, they will react.
Exactly.
They will react. Which has taken us women toward the positions that we are now, as I was telling you, in every aspect of
life,
Of
or
life,
in every
yes.
sphere.
Yes,
It depends on the
yes.
subject and matter.
Yes, but you can find success of women in every sphere, and we would like it to be more generalized, not special cases, but to be more in equality terms.
Mrs. Margarita, by the end of our interview, what is your message to women in the world, Lebanese women, Mexican women?
I would like to tell women, and Lebanese and Mexican, to always be proud of themselves and to fight for what you really think is worth fighting. Never let anyone stop you and make you feel less than what you are, because you are very valuable here as a woman and every part of the world.
And by the end, if you are appointed president, how would you raise the flags of supporting women?
I would raise them all.
President of a
supporting-
country.
Yes, yes, yes. I would encourage the participation of women. I would encourage starting by education and looking for the ways to make women be able to live a life in equal terms as men do.
This is amazing, fantastico. Muchas gracias para su presencia
Thank you, gracias.
with us
Muchas gracias.
in Plateau Mariam TV.
Sí.
I wish you best of luck, best of success, and great endeavors in your life first, in your mission as a mother second, and in DSAL in your capacity as president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. مشاهدينا سفرة مع سفير صار على الآخر، إن شاء الله تكونوا استمتعتوا بهذا اللقاء الحلو. نحن وياكم مشاهدينا، بودعكم أنا جويل حتى لقاءات أخرى من برنامج سفرة مع سفير، والله معكم.